Today on the show, we've got Paul Markle from Student of the Gun. Paul is one of the friendliest savages in the gun world. He rubs some people the wrong way, and that's why I like him. This Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Savage Arms. All right, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, it's one of my favorite people in the world of guns. He is a funny / militant / lovable / knowledgeable dude. And he makes people uncomfortable sometimes, which I really like. It's Paul Markle from Student of the Gun. Welcome in, man.
Well, that's why they call me the pimp hand of America, because every once in a while people need a slap. And it wasn't a job I was looking for, but it was a job I accepted when it came to me. So thank you very much.
Yeah, it's not the hero people wanted. It's the hero people needed, right?
Essentially, yeah. I was doing that before it was a thing.
Yeah. Paul, Student of the Gun, you guys have been at this quite a while now. We've kind of run parallel paths with this thing, and
12 years.
You guys have your own media company. Talk about Student of the Gun for a minute. Just give a little background.
Oh, man. It was 2010 that I took a yellow legal tablet and wrote the word Student of the Gun across the top of it. I actually, somebody had talked me into setting up a website like in 07. They're like, you gotta register your name and your domain. You got to do it because someone else is going to. And so I did. And it was just basically a page. And I put Paul Markle, Student of the Gun, under my name back in 07. So when I had the opportunity to start doing video and television in 2010, I had that yellow legal tablet and I'm fleshing out ideas for the name of the show. And I'm like, this, that. There was a couple other ones that are just totally forgettable now. And then I wrote Student of the Gun. And at the time, the guy I was working with, it's like, oh, that one right there. That's what we have to call the show. So we did the same route you guys did. We did the television route. We were on Sportsman Channel, Outdoor Channel, Hunt Channel, Pursuit Channel. We did that for a while, bought time and did that. And then the world changed. But it was, I guess it was 2015. Jared said, he goes, we need to have our own app because app television is where it's at. And I was telling my sponsors, I said, hey, satellite and cable they're dying and they're going to die. And I said, no, the future is app television. And it was funny, you've been in the industry long enough. People in our industry are like, oh, I don't think so. Like,
right. Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't care if you think so or not, but here's the reality. The ship is sinking. And refusing to believe the ship is sinking is not going to make it not sink. So we developed our own app, our television app, Student of the Gun TV, and it's on. Back then, remember the new hotness was Roku,
right? Oh yeah,
yeah. When we walked into a Walmart and they had this monster Roku display in November, I was like, oh, they're not dumb, and that's the future. Yeah. So we did that. We started Student of the Gun Radio a couple of years after the TV show, and we've been going full throttle ever since. So, and I write books and things like that. And
you did writing for magazines. You did that journey for a time, right?
Yeah, I kind of followed a similar path as your dad. I started writing about 25 years ago for outdoor shooting sports. However long ago 1993 was. That's when I started writing for the outdoor shooting sports world. And your dad, years ago, we had a conversation at Gun Sight, and he goes, the best thing I ever did was stop writing for gun magazines.
Yeah. Then you can actually start paying the bills. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, there's nowhere, it's like having a job where you make less and less money for more work every year.
It's a tough racket.
Sign me up, man.
The print publication world is tough, man. And then it's gotten tougher over the years. Now, you guys focus a lot on, as the name kind of implies, a lot about training, being prepared, being proficient. It's something I had a conversation today. I was in a store. There's like this lady, they have like clothes and shoes and stuff like that. And I said I was getting ready to go to this thing in Vegas for this convention. And she's like, oh, what do you do? And I said, oh, I do stuff about guns. And she goes, oh, well, let me ask you, would a gun be a good present? because I was thinking about for my boyfriend to buy a gun for him. Or is that like illegal to buy a gun from somebody? Which this may be a rabbit hole we're stepping into. But
Yeah.
I was like, well, no, it's not illegal to buy a gun for someone. It's illegal to make a straw purchase and say, oh, I'm buying this gun for somebody when somebody said, hey, dude, can you buy this gun for me? Because I'm prohibited. But then we started talking about training. You might want to. She goes, well, a gun's kind of a personal choice, right? Yes, she's on the right track here.
Yep.
So, well, you might want to buy him like a gun class, because most people who own guns, they don't take classes and they're not terribly proficient. They just own guns.
They know what they're doing.
Dude, talk about this. How not trained up are a lot.
We actually we talked about this today, and about the psychological descriptor called the Dunning-Kruger effect. Mm-hmm. And the Dunning-Kruger effect essentially says that the majority of humans, or a good percentage of humans, operate under this cognitive bias that they are actually better than or have more information than they actually do when compared to real calculable statistics or performance. And that's the first step in it's the unconscious incompetence.
Right.
They don't know what they don't know.
And we hear this journey as the more you know, if you start getting a little bit of training, you're like, oh, wow, I know some stuff. And you get a little bit more training and you go, I don't know that much. I just met these guys, whether, you're doing classes or taking from good instructors, and you go, they're way better than I am.
There's way more about this subject that I didn't know about.
Yeah.
And that's the step that people need to take. And if you look up the Dunning-Kruger effect online, there's kind of like a reverse bell curve. It's like, I'm up here because I'm super smart, man. And then you actually step out of your comfort zone and park your ego for 5 seconds. And then it goes way down here. You whoop. Like, wow, I really don't know anything, but that's okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to bring you back up to here. And you're a musician. It's gun people in Cooper said this years ago. He said, owning a guitar does not make you a musician, and owning a gun does not make you an armed citizen. Yeah. You say, oh man, I have a guitar. When I was growing up, every 15-year-old had a guitar.
Right. Everyone
we couldn't play them.
Guitar, right? With air quotes around that.
Yeah.
But and it's like, yes, I have been a gigging musician for probably longer than I care to admit, actually, if I think about it, probably 30 years or more. But my wife tells the story. The first time she ever saw me play, I was like, oh yeah, I'm playing at this bar. If you want to come by and see, we're having fun with it. And she came like, okay, whatever. And she was like, wait, like you really play? Like, well, yeah, I mean, I said it. She's like, yeah, but I mean, like a lot of people say, oh, I play drums, or, oh, I play guitar. Well, no, I played from the time I was 12. I played drums for 1 to 2 hours per day, 5 to 6 days a week, until about the age of 18. And then I maybe not as much when I was in college and stuff, but like that whole 10,000 hour rule thing.
Oh man, get out of my brain. I was just going to say, you put your 10,000 hours in.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's when I tell my kids all the time, you want to get good at something? This is your moment. Because once you get out of the house, you get a job, you're trying to be serious in school. You don't have time for that.
Yeah. Oh, well, funny thing, we're down a rabbit hole, but what the heck? Let's go say hi to the rabbits. So I was, this winter or Christmas season, Feliz Navidad came on, man. And I thought to myself, I wonder if Jose Feliciano is still alive. Right. And so I looked him up, and he's still with us as of today. Knock wood. Jose's still with us.
Cashing those royalty checks.
Yeah, he's cashing them royalty checks on Feliz Navidad, man. But his story is interesting because he was born in Puerto Rico. He was born blind. His family relocated to New York City. And at some point in time in his youth, when he was real young, somebody gave him a guitar. It's like, hey, we need to give Feliz something to do, man, because he's just sitting around. So they gave him a guitar. And in his story, he said when he started, he would sit literally all day, like for 12 hours, and pluck and play on the guitar. And I use that in an example I talked about on I do another show called Morning Mindset with Paul Markle. And I talked about you can't get around that. See, everybody wants to buy something. We want to buy a laser. We want to buy a red dot, or we want to put a tricked out $200 trigger in our AR because that's going to make us shoot better. Right. No, it's not. It cannot make up for your lack of skill. The law of the universe is everybody's got to put in their time. What you have to decide is how long is it going to take you to get to that 10,000 hours?
Yeah. If you're like, there's no shortcut around it. It's just math.
Shortcut skill. No, you can't. The only thing you have control over is how much time you're going to put in. For instance, Max Michelle and Todd Jarrett are good friends of mine, and I've talked to them separately on different occasions, and I asked them, I said, hey, how much dry fire did you do? And both of them were very similar. I think Max was like, I did 2 hours a day, 5 days a week. And Todd was, similar thing. He's like, I did 2 to 3 hours a day, 7 days a week for the first 5 years that I decided I wanted to be a pro shooter. And so people are like, I want to be a pro shooter. I'm like, are you willing to do 2 hours of dry fire per day, 7 days a week for 3 years to get good?
Right.
And they're like, I don't have time for that. Then you don't have time to be the top. Then you don't have the time to be the top 1%. And that's the people who are the top 1% put that time in.
Yes, absolutely. And there, you know what? We got to pay some bills. We're going to be right back. New from Savage this year is the Stance handgun. This is an all new line of handguns from Savage, and it's delivering modern performance, American strength, and what Savage is really known for, that quality. So this is a micro 9 thin concealable pistol. One of the interesting things about this are all the options you have with it. So you've got 3-dot sights, night sights, or laser. So different sighting systems. You also have black finish, gray finish, or an FDE finish. So the Savage Stance, brand new. Check them out. So Paul, there's this book called Harvey Pinnock's, I think it's called Little Red Book. And he was this world-renowned golf coach. And there's this part in the book that he talks about a guy came to him, and he had been, Harvey Pinnock had coached up Tom Kite, who won the Masters, and several other people in the 80s, 90s. And this guy came to him and said, Harvey, you're the best. He said, I'm 45 years old. I'm a scratch golfer. I'm independently wealthy. I want to take the next 5 years and get ready. And I want to be winning, competing on the senior PGA tour when I hit 50. And Harvey goes, can't be done. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, no, you see that guy over there? He's getting ready for the senior PGA tour as well. Who's he? He goes, that's Tom Kite. He's already winning on the PGA. Like there's not possible at this point, but I mean, I could coach you up, but like, you're not going to be world renowned at this point. You would have had to start that at, I don't know, 12,
30 years ago. Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So, I mean, for people listening and they go, well, dude, I mean, I'm not trying to win world championships or whatever. I got a gun for concealed carry, or I just like shooting. I mean, what's reasonable? And I feel like we're a broken record when we say, go take a class, go take a class.
Yeah. You take your first class to realize what you don't know. And then after you've taken your first class, you're like, what you should say to yourself is, when can I take my next class? Unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they take the requirement. Like, well, I want to get a CCW in my state. And they say, I have to take this 8-hour class. So I'm going to go to this indoor range and I'm going to pay that guy $79. I'm going to take that 8-hour class, get a certificate. And now I'm good. Right. No, you're not. You just fulfilled a requirement from the state. That's all you did. You learned about all the things that you could possibly do wrong. You just put your foot in the door, man. That's like going to kindergarten and saying, I'm ready for college now.
Right. Yeah. You spend for concealed carry, you'll spend, again here, it's about an 8-hour class. And I think you'll spend 4 or 5 hours in the classroom, and they'll tell you about, well, you can't go to a polling place. Here are all the places you can't go with it.
Yeah. Here's where you're going to get in trouble.
And it's like, you're not prepared for an actual self-defense encounter.
No. Yeah, they take you out to the range, make sure you don't shoot yourself.
Right.
And they sign a piece of paper that says, John didn't shoot himself today.
Yes. He managed to put holes in the paper. Good.
That's right. out in front of him. And so we're all good.
Standing still, paper standing still.
Yeah.
The other thing that'll happen when you go to a class is it's funny that the tactical class training world is surprisingly catty to me, because I'm like, there are a lot of really good instructors, but it's like people get wrapped around the axle of like, well, he teaches how to rack the slide this way or that way. Personally, I feel like some of that's a lot of wasted jibber jabber. And I think that probably most regular folks can benefit from most classes as long as the instructor is decently prepared and safe. But what will happen is if your first class, a lot of people go, that was the best thing ever. Oh my gosh, that guy is so squared away, badass. And I just am now a badass. I spent 2 days with this guy and it's awesome. Look, you probably is good. You probably improved quite a lot, but you have nothing to compare it to. Fair?
Yeah. Oh, that's like asking an 18-year-old to fill out a survey. Here, fill this out and tell me what you thought about this class. And he's like, that was the greatest thing ever. Whether he writes it was the greatest thing ever or the worst class on planet Earth, it means nothing because he has nothing to compare it to.
Right.
So you go to your first, and this is difficult. People ask me all the time, like, how do I know if I'm going to a good school? Chances are you probably won't, unless you're willing to shell out the money for a recommended training course. And there's some that we say, I'm like, you should train with this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. If you go there, you will get a good experience. But they're like, oh, they're not in my state. That guy's not in my city. I'm not going to travel. Okay, fine. Go to the local indoor range and train with the local guy. The McDonald's guy, the discount training guy. And you'll probably learn some things. You'll pick up some nuggets or whatever. And of course, the earlier on you are, the more nuggets you pick up because everything's new. The difficult thing is 4, 5, 6, 10, 20 years later, or 25 or whatever, to go to a class and learn something new. So you really got to mine for those nuggets then, but it's still doable. Yeah. But the point is you need to look at this experience as not a block checking. Like, for instance, the CCW. Well, I have to do that. I don't want to because it's stupid and I'm a smart person and I know what I'm doing, but okay, I'll go to this class. So you do that and you're like, okay, I did that. Now my training requirement for my life has been completed.
Yeah.
No, that's not the way it is at all. And the best thing you could possibly do, and it's too bad that more people don't do this, is to take a force-on-force training class first.
Ooh,
if you put someone in a force-on-force training class first, you say, okay, here's the safety protocols, here's the training gear, we're going to run through scenarios. Derp coming out of 7-Eleven, derp walking home up my front door, whatever. Put people through that, and that's shockingly eye-opening. It's
kind of that slap in the head of like, you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, it's a pimp slap for sure. They're like, whoa. Yeah, I just like totally lost it there and was jibber jabber. And I turned into Joe Biden and it was like, my butt's been wiped or something. Yeah, and that's when people will take it seriously. But unfortunately, that's not as fun as launching bullets, People like to launch bullets. They like to stand on the line.
But Paul, how many rounds are we going to shoot in the 2-day class? I mean, I need to get some trigger time. Right?
You need, yeah, that's true. And then that actually goes back to what are you doing with your time and what are you doing with your ammo? We came up with you and I and your dad. Geez, back in Biloxi, we did the one box workout.
Yep, 50 rounds.
Like we can take 50 rounds and actually get some actual value out of that, as opposed to leaving the range with basically just 50 rounds of brass laying on the ground and a dead milk jug or something.
It's like one of my buddies who's actually a good trainer. For one of the first times I met him, we went out to the range and he said, so it was just a couple of us. He goes, you guys want to goof around and groove bad habits, or you want to do some training? I was like, all right, I guess we're going to do some training. Right. I didn't know what we were doing that day. I just showed up with a gun and ammo.
Shoot some milk jugs.
Yeah.
Death to all milk jugs.
Well, going back to the whole musician thing, another aspect of this is, look, you and I, we like the gear, we like the guns, all that stuff, but people go, which gun do I need, Paul? It's kind of, and I equate it to also the musician thing works really well. Also golf. People love to buy a new putter or a new driver to fix their golf game, as opposed to actually going and like hitting balls or getting a swing
balls and
coach or whatever. And, Eddie Van Halen can pick up the crappy. Well, he could. He could. May he rest in peace. But he could pick up the crappiest guitar ever and make it sing because he can do that. Max Michel can beat probably most of us with pretty much any pistol.
Right, with a high point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how do you get that way? And if you're the biggest thing is, I don't know if it's American men or just men in general, is the desire to shortcut the process by buying something. If your desire is to shortcut the process by buying something, you're fooling yourself. I mean, it might be fun and it's shiny and it's new and you can show your friends, but you're fooling yourself. I had a good friend of mine when I lived in Biloxi, and I would only see him like every 6 weeks to 2 months. We'd end up at the cigar shop or something, and we'd see each other. And I'm like, hey, and he became my quintessential example, because every time I would see him, he'd like, oh man, I got a new blank, right?
Yeah.
And he was the what is on the cover of Guns and Ammo this month guy. Right. So like when the HK what's its nuts come out, the 3000 or whatever, he's like, oh dude, I got that. And I was like, oh cool, man. And then I see him like 2 or 3 months later, he goes, I got the new CZ. Right. And I was like, dude, you didn't even get the other one dirty. Like I got an idea.
I don't have time to shoot all these guns.
No. And I said, what'd you do? I was like, what'd you do with your, he says, I traded it and got this new one.
There's lots of ways to enjoy guns. That's fine. One of them is buying a bunch of guns because
if you're a collector,
they're mechanical and they're neat and then you show off. But what we're kind of talking about is being proficient with guns. Well, I mean, everybody knows the saying, beware of the man with one gun, because he probably knows how to use it, right?
It's not really true, but anyway.
well, but it's a fun saying, right?
Yeah.
Now that we've talked about that the gear isn't necessarily the answer. After this break, Paul, I want to ask you about your favorite gear that you've been messing with this past year. Okay.
Okay. We can do it.
New for Smith & Wesson is the CSX pistol. Now, what do you need to know about the CSX? This is a micro 9, so it's a concealed carry gun, 12+1 capacity on the extended mag, 10+1 in the flush fit mag, and it's still a very small gun. It's also a very ambidextrous gun with an ambi safety, ambi slide stop. It does have a thumb safety, and it does have an external hammer. It has a flat face trigger, top slide serrations to reduce glare, and I shot this gun. It's a really nice shooting gun. You can even swap the mag release to make it left-handed or right-handed, and of course the interchangeable back straps. They kept that feature like you know and love from the M&P line, but this is a whole new thing for them. So check out the CSX pistol from Smith & Wesson. All right, so Paul, the guns, this is the question you get all the time. I get all the time, man, what cool stuff have you been shooting? What have you really liked? And you get to play with a good variety of stuff. Have there been any things that you just liked that you've been messing with?
I had
not in the past year.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. I've been in this game so long. I was here when the 10 mil was new, and then no one cared, and now it's cool again. I was here when the 380 was worthless, and then everybody had to have one, and now who knows? But I had a really fun summer. We did a video series called Real Men Wear Shorts, Guns of the African Bush War.
Okay.
And I grew up understanding of what the African Bush War was. I knew what it meant to be a man among men. So what I found is a lot of people don't. A lot of these Gen Zs and millennials and stuff, they're like, what are you talking about, man? Men didn't go to war in shorts. Nobody would ever go to war deliberately in shorty shorts and tennis shoes. And like, oh, contraire, mon frere.
Rhodesian army.
Yeah, let me show you some pictures, hippie, of dudes yomping around the bush with an R1. So I contacted my good friend over at DS Arms, and I said, hey, this is the idea I have. I said, but I got the first video has to be an FAL.
Oh, yeah.
Be.
That was it.
And, you know, FN actually discontinued them like 30 years ago almost. There are a few companies that make them, but DS Arms is the number one maker of the FAL, and they call it the SA58. But it's essentially a faithful metric reproduction of the original FN gun. So he said, all right, here's what I'll do. I'll because they've got all kinds of, they got varieties, folding stocks and all that. He said, what I'll do is I'll have the guys build one that looks and resembles the original R1, like one you would have gotten from off the back of a truck in South Africa.
Very cool.
It's got the sterilization hole punched in it where the African lion would have been. It's got the gas block rifle grenade launching sight on it. And I had just a fantastic time reviewing that and using it. And I purchased a Rhodesian baby poop camouflage kit, and I followed the instructions, and I did the Rhodesian. If you don't know what Rhodesian baby poop camo is, you need to watch the videos. Because back then there was no Duracoat, there was no Cerakote. You couldn't go to Walmart and pick up Krylon. You sat on an ammo crate in the motor pool, and the sergeant walked over with buckets of paint, not spray paint.
Spray this thing. Paint this thing down
and brushes in there. Like, paint this, make it green in this baby poop yellow color, because that's what we have, and that's what they did. And those guns are most sought after today, the original R1s. So we did that. I had a great time. One of my sons is a videographer, so we went out and we did that. And I did a lot of research. Like I said, I knew about this when I was a teenager. I knew when I was younger, so I read a lot of books, and I talked to some people. I actually talked to a couple of Rhodesian veterans, a couple of guys from Africa, and there's not that many left because it's been a while. You know who's one of my favorite African Americans? Probably yours too. Robbie Bartman.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I talked to Robbie. Yeah, Robar's, he's one of my favorite African Americans. But yeah, so we had a really good time with that. So this summer, I focused on the guns that were used during the Rhodesian and South African bush wars,
Paul,
both from the good guys and the bad guys.
That's a really cool idea. It's fun because we still have old guns are always cool. Old guns are always in this space of, like, again, one of the ways that we enjoy guns. I mean, you had Springfield Army reissue like the high power in their own version and stuff. I
have one. I just shot it.
It's a nice gun, and it's like,
it's great.
That's one of those guns that for me, I was like, this is super cool. I mean, when you were going through the guns of the Bush War, were there guns that you went, I like this just as much as any modern gun? Oh,
yeah. I mean, the guns of the good guys that we reviewed, I reviewed the R1 first because that was the primary battle rifle, but then they also had a lot of G3s. So I reviewed the HK G3. Then we went to the South African Vector, the R4 Vector. Yeah. The R4 Vector actually replaced the R1 around 1980 when South Africa decided to follow the NATO model and go with 5.56. So I did that. And also something that people might not realize is that at the end of the Bush Wars were still going on when we were done with Vietnam. And all over Southeast Asia, Africa, there were AR-15s, M16s everywhere.
Sure.
And they found their way into Africa. And a lot of the foreign fighters, a lot of the guys who fought for Rhodesia were Vietnam vets.
Okay.
Were American Vietnam vets who joined up. So
they just needed a new fight.
Yeah, essentially they did. They didn't know what they came back home. People were spitting on them and treating them like crap. And they're like, I don't need this. I just read an article in Soldier of Fortune, and I can go to Rhodesia right now, and they'll pay me to fight for them. So a lot of them did. So the AR towards the end of the war, it was there. Then we focused on the guns of the revolutionaries and the guerrillas and the communists. The SKS, I've got a wooden stock SKS with the grenade launcher sight on it and all that stuff. And of course the venerable AK, the RPK, What else did we do? Oh, and then I did a kind of a bonus. You're familiar with the movie The Dogs of War.
Yes.
All right. You're familiar with the famous poster of Christopher Walken with that multi-shot grenade launcher, that big monster honking thing. That was actually, they called it the XM18 or something, but it was a Manville smoke and gas launcher from pre-World War II. That was from England that they made. And so I've got an RGA 86. It's a 15-shot rotary drum smoke and flare launcher that shoots 26.5 millimeter projectiles. So I did an homage to the Dogs of War by featuring that gun. Of course, I dressed up. I dressed the part, man. I got the stuff. I got the like old timey gear and Rhodesian chest rigs and all that. And we had a really great time with that. And the one thing I didn't have, I wanted to do handguns. The 1911 really wasn't a thing, but the high powers were, because the Brits had them, and the Brits were very influential all over Africa. And the Rhodesians had high powers, but I used to have one in the old days, and it was one of those, I needed to make a car payment or something, and I sold it like 15, 20 years ago. And I've been thinking for years, like, man, I wish I had one back. Man, I wish I had one back. And then that came out just here for a couple months ago.
Yeah, the Springfield. And
I was like, oh, I got to get this. I was talking to somebody on the phone yesterday, and they said, what do you think about it? I said, I think it's great. And the interesting thing is that when I was young, early 20s and stuff, everybody talked about him, cylinder and slide, Bill Laffridge, you'd send off your high power to him and he'd trick it out, do everything that should be done to it, all that. Well, that went away. That fell away. So the high power has been gone off the stage long enough that new gun people are like, wow, did you hear what Springfield? This is crazy.
Right.
Like, well, I feel look at this new gun.
We talk about it. I got to explain this backstory. And I'm trying to say, like, I mean, it's not a new gun.
It's not a new gun. It's been around since 1935, and Browning was dead when they finished it.
Right. And everybody wants to say, well, it's not really John Browning. Well, I mean,
Browning Firearms Corporation. Yeah.
He had a part in it, but he didn't finish it. But so lots of new stuff coming out now. It's a lot of fun. Paul, are you doing classes? Are you teaching stuff?
Well, right now it's wintertime up here. Yeah, I do classes. We've been doing one of the things that I love teaching and that we've been able to do out here in Wyoming is long range rifle. We do long range rifle every summer. And have a good time with that. Generally, right now, they close Wyoming every couple of days now.
Wyoming's closed, folks.
It's closed. The moose out front should have told you to just come back tomorrow or something. That's right. Well, the wind blows the snow so much that they can't keep it off the interstates. The solution is just close it. We'll try again tomorrow.
Just stay at home.
Just stay home. Like, what are you going to do? I'm going to stay home and play my guitar and read a book. That's what I'm going to do.
Tell the people in Virginia that. Don't get stranded on the interstate. Like, hey, don't go drive around. The weather's going to be like really bad.
Don't drive. Stay home. You'll be okay.
Those keen survival skills from Paul Markle.
You're not going to miss anything. Stay home. There you go.
Paul, how do they find out more about what you guys are up to?
Oh, it's really hard. You have to go to studentofthegun.com. Yeah, Student of the Gun, and you find out how to listen to the radio show, the books, the everything. It's
cool. Always fun, man. Good to see you. Thanks for being on with us.
Been fun. Thank you very much, Ryan.
All right, you guys, that's it for us, and we will see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.